Resources for Community Development, RCD, for site improvements and landscaping on all Saturdays from July 27th, 2013 through November 2nd, 2013. And this is for the Ambassador Housing Project. Charlie.
Okay. So, Mayor Brinkman and members of the City Council, you have before you a request for a waiver from the noise ordinance for the Ambassador Housing Project. This request is from RCD, Resources for Community Development, the developers of that project, and it's to do work on this 69-unit affordable housing project, which is at 3610 Peralta Street. They are requesting to do work on all Saturdays between July 27th and November 3rd from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. The type of work that would be done during this time includes interior work, which would include painting and finishes and carpentry work, exterior work, including paint and exterior skin, and some site improvement work, including sidewalk demolition, irrigation, and soil installation, and grading and planting. The type of equipment that would be used during these hours would include backhoes, bobcats, skill saws, and handwork. Just to remind you, these are some elevations of the project. These two at the top are the townhouses along Adeline Street. This picture here is of the three houses that face 36th Street at the corner of Adeline, and then this one is the north elevation of the townhouses that are on Adeline Street. The larger drawing here at the bottom is the view from Adeline Street. There's the townhouses here at the left side that are at the corner of 36th and Adeline. On the right are the townhouses that face Adeline Street, two private homes between, and then the larger main building on top of the podium that is at the corner of 36th and Peralta is here in the back. This is the site plan. We have Peralta Street on the left, Adeline Street on the right, 36th Street here at the bottom. The townhouses at 36th and Adeline are here, three townhouses. That's Building C. Building B are the two townhouses that face Adeline Street, and the large building is referred to as Building A. RCD has told us that they have, and I just heard this morning, that they have heard concerns expressed about the exterior site work from some of the residents, some of the neighbors over here on Adeline Street. And as a result of that, RCD is proposing they would only do exterior site work on Saturdays over here on the Peralta Street frontage and on the 36th Street frontage, and not on the Adeline Street side. The reason for this request is to compensate for delays in the construction schedule and to meet the funders' requirements that the residents need to move into the complex by the end of the year, and also to reduce the overall construction period. As required by the noise ordinance, the city did 300-foot notification and newspaper notification at least 10 days prior to this meeting. The applicant also notified all of the adjacent neighbors in June, and copies of those notification letters are attached to your staff report. In the attached resolution, we have included the standard conditions that we typically impose on these noise waivers, which include that the work would be limited to the time, location, hours, type of work, and equipment, which is included in the request, that backup beepers are to be disabled during the Saturday work, that signs need to be posted with contact information for concerns or complaints, and the phone number has to be answered by a live person, not an answering machine or voicemail. The applicant is to notify the neighbors within 300 feet, as well as the police, fire, and public works departments before they start Saturday work. And if complaints are received, work is to stop until the issue is resolved. And the City Council, of course, may revoke this approval in the future if the conditions are not complied with, or if any complaints are received and not satisfactorily resolved. So our recommendation is that the City Council approve this noise waiver to allow Saturday work on all Saturdays from July 27th to November 3rd from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We would also recommend that you modify the conditions. This is not in the attached resolution, so you would be making a modification to it to allow the site improvement work on Saturdays only along the Peralta and 36th Street frontages. And that concludes my staff presentation. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Any questions? Yep.
Yes.
Just a brief question. The hours requested are 8:30 to 5.
Correct.
But we could potentially say, only starting at 9.
You have the discretion to set whatever hours you wish if you choose to approve this request.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to open up for public comment. I see some neighbors. Come on up.
The applicant, I should mention, Lisa Montoya from RCD, is also here to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Please.
Good evening, City
evening.
Council members and the citizens of Emeryville. I'm Yasmin Amer. I am the owner of 3605 Adeline. I live behind the Ambassador Building. And I do everything in Emeryville, as you already know. I live, eat, work, play, and shop in Emeryville, so this is where I'm at. Thank you for hearing me out yet again. I just want to talk about how I'm directly affected by the building, and both my neighbor, Vicky Joe, and Jennifer West have been very supportive of me and what I'm going through. On 6/11, June 11th, I had a good neighbor meeting at my own house, so that, and I welcomed as many people as possible, so they could see what I'm going through and have a little bit of transparency as to what their decisions and their actions have affected the way I'm living right now. I was represented by RCD, Segway, the city of Emeryville, the architect, and my neighbors. And at that meeting, there was a verbal agreement for the Saturday hours to happen. And I'm totally in support of it as being directly affected. I think it's totally fine. 9 o'clock or 9:30 would be better for me personally. I don't know what time Mrs. Cherry wakes up. I appreciate the fact that you want to do it on the other side of me as opposed to in the townhouses, which have more recently been directly affecting me with the hammering and the yelling and all of that stuff. So I'm totally for it. I think it's great, and finish on time. That's all wonderful. And then in exchange, though, I would like for other construction during the week to start at 8:30, which is a compromise because I don't work and I don't have to get up that early ever. And the other thing that I want to raise again that I would like in exchange for this to happen is from the fence height to be raised from 6 feet to 10 feet. Or some sort of compromise in between. Which time do I have? 37 seconds. So for the safety and privacy of myself as a single woman and my elderly neighbor, I'd like the consideration to again happen for the monies to be given for the fence height to be higher than 6 feet because it's not safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vicki?
Hi, my name is Vicki Sewell. I'm a citizen. I live at 3618 Peralta Street. And it's okay with me if they do this, because we made a deal with the developer that he could work on Saturday, Frank, if he would build the 10-foot walls for Yasmin, put up the 20-foot bamboo, frost half the windows so they don't see into her, fix the gate and fence that they destroyed when they did the plumbing, and that's it. If they do those things, that will be the minimal security that she can have and the minimal privacy that she can have in that fishbowl that she's surrounded by. Because if you're in that building, you can see right into her yard. She has no privacy from the north, the east, and the west. It's really horrendous that she's surrounded by and engulfed by the Ambassador Laundry Building. And the sooner you finish building it, for her sake, the better. So that's why we agreed to the Saturday noise, is to help her, not because we like the developer.
Okay. Well, would the developer like to say something on, because it seems to be your cue. You've signed up for some things.
Okay. Thank you for the segue, Vicki. My name is Lisa Motoyama. I'm the Housing Development Director at Resources for Community Development, and we're here to request the Saturday work hours because we are delayed, and the reason for that delay is the site was much dirtier than we had anticipated. We had done lots of initial studies, and we still, when we started construction, did find an additional underground storage tank. So that did delay the project by 6 weeks. So we have been, from the get-go, trying to move as quickly as possible. We'd like to do the Saturday hours also just so that we can be done and not be a construction nuisance for the neighborhood either. We did have our staff, Jessica Sheldon, our project manager, meet with Yasmin and city staff and the neighbors, and a lot of those issues did come up regarding the fence height and bamboo and frosting windows and things like that. Currently, we have agreed to look at the fence and try to repair the fence if it, we feel that it might have been due to construction work that Yasmin Amer's fence is not working. So we are having our contractor look at that. We are also replacing the sidewalk in front of both Yasmin Amer's house and Miss Cherry's house, and so that was not included in the original scope, but we think that that's a really great thing to do to make the sidewalk continuous there. So some of the things like the bamboo has already been kind of disallowed when we looked into it by the fire marshal. So we have looked into a number of these issues. There are some cost implications and other issues that have come up, and we can't meet those requirements, but we still would like to have consideration for the Saturday work hours.
So you can't put the smoke glass in the, because that shouldn't be very much money.
That was something that actually came up in the discussion with the Planning Commission when the project was originally discussed. And so we had initially proposed that, but it felt that it blocked the light for the residents, and it was not going to be a quality living environment for the residents to have their sunshine blocked.
No, but this, it sounds like this is a window going into her house
Oh,
that we're talking about.
window.
Yeah, her window.
no, she's requesting that we frost our windows?
Oh.
There's 36 windows facing my property. So
Oh.
I don't need that many people looking at what I do.
It sounds like you're not going to do anything you said you were going to do at that meeting.
We
Is
we
that correct?
we promised we would look into. We looked at the.
Well, let's just one meeting at a time. Okay. So it sounds like we have an issue here. So it sounds like we have a misunderstanding, and I would really like to work this out so that we can move on, get everybody done, and keep the citizens happy. So you're on the spot.
Yeah, so we have met and discussed this very extensively. The additional fence height is very expensive, and we are hoping that ultimately, nobody would like to have 10 feet of fencing around them. It is uncomfortable in the long term. And like I said, we did check into the bamboo, and the fire marshal will not allow the bamboo to be planted in the back area between our property and.
That 5-foot area
No.
between the property.
No.
We can't have people.
No. Yeah, I understand. No, we have to keep it civil here. So I guess we have a misunderstanding on this one, and sometimes misunderstandings don't treat you in the best way. So
Well, Mayor Bringman,
Yes.
now, are you telling us that the fire marshal said you couldn't have the bamboo?
That's correct.
The Planning Commission said that you couldn't have the frosted window. Is that correct, Charlie? Where are you, Charlie?
I don't recall that exactly. It was about 4 years ago that the Planning Commission approved this project, but I do recall that the units on the upper floors were stepped back and some other sorts of screening were put in place, and I believe that the architect did some visual simulations to show what the views from those windows would be, and showed that they wouldn't be able to see into Ms. Amir's backyard from
We
those
have
windows.
planters as well as sort of visually blocking awnings that extend beyond the bottom
So
of the
some of these requests that were made to you are out of your control. I'd just like to make a comment. This is an urban environment. This was a redevelopment area. And as a person who lives in Watergate on an inner courtyard, I am surrounded by windows that look into other people's apartments. It's an urban environment. I think you're going to find the same thing happening at the paper mill when you have these two wings of the building with, really large windows, but they're looking right across the courtyard at each other. It's almost a factor of an urban environment if you're going to have multiple unit buildings. So I can see the dilemma here.
Yeah.
I do remember during the Planning Commission and during the previous discussions that the architect did step back those upper tier units. So I think there has been misunderstanding here, people asking for things that you really do not have the ability, with the exception of the 10-foot fence. I feel that is, in a project of this size, the 10-foot fence on the back of what is it, a 50-foot wide lot or 25?
150 foot.
150 on the,
All the way down they could, but really how much fencing? 20
You have to
feet?
come, you have to
Please
come up
come
and talk to
No,
him,
no,
Mike.
no, no,
Whoever's at the mic has the
Yeah.
floor. Here.
So how much fencing are we talking about?
This is behind two houses, so that's two sort of a narrow lot bungalows.
and what's the length of the, how many feet is that between those two?
Probably 50 feet?
They're 50 feet lot, they're 25-foot lots.
Okay.
So we're not talking about a lot of money here, and I wouldn't represent it as a lot of money if I were
Talking
you.
about, I believe we're talking about back here,
Correct.
Okay,
right there.
so that's probably 60 feet.
So what is the cost?
The request is to have the three sides enclosing those two houses fenced at 10 feet, and that's an approximate $75,000 add. Because of the height of the fence, the footings have to be engineered, and they have to be very large to support a 10-foot fence that will not move in any kind of wind or have any kind of, it needs to have additional structural strength. So the footings have to be very, very large, and that's the cost.
I should add that any fence over 6 feet tall requires a building permit, so our engineering staff will need to look at it and make sure that it's structurally adequate.
I would like to request that,
Yes.
that we do have our staff look into what that would require, and that we even, in terms of the building permit and the height of the fence. It sounds like the other things are not necessarily under our control right now, but if we could look into this and also look into how we might be able to partner with, about the cost.
Mayor Brinkman?
Yes, sir.
We'll be happy to review any plans that are submitted for a building permit. We're not going to go proactively out there and design a fence for them?
No, I don't, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I would support that one. So that'd be one way to handle this. You'd have to look at coming out, designing a fence that meets this criteria. And what was the other one?
Well, just the cost. I could see how in a project with an affordable housing developer that received lots of support from redevelopment and tax credits, et cetera, that $75,000 is not a small amount of money to try and factor in to the budget at this point. And so I'm asking the City Council if there's willingness or interest in trying to figure out how that funding of that ad would help to protect and make citizens who are impacted by this
Well,
feel better about it.
before we move away from the fence, I cannot see the reasonableness of having the fence on the northern side of the property, a 10-foot fence. This is, again, this is an urban environment. I urge you, to go down 43rd Street or 45th Street, 47th Street. Neighbors are cheek by jowl. People look out of their living room windows into somebody's dining room. It's an urban environment. I can see the back of the two properties, the 50-foot length, but I certainly can't see it extended down to 36th Street. So you're really talking about maximum $45,000.
And I also agree, 10-foot fence is a high fence.
You bet.
And I don't know why we couldn't look at doing an 8-foot fence, more standard than a 10-foot fence. I understand the 6-foot fence is a little bit too short, but an 8-foot fence, I would think, would probably be something that would be more within your budget to afford than a...
We can look at the cost for that.
Okay. So,
So wait a minute, are you saying that you would move forward with the 50 feet of 10-foot fence if you can work it out?
8-foot fence.
8-foot fence.
That's what I was proposing.
I mean, we would have to price it again. It's about we have to have it engineered
Well,
and make sure
you're
that
the
it-
one coming here looking for permission to
How
work
much
on
is it going to cost
Saturdays.
you? You're right. How much is it going to cost you if we don't allow you to work on Saturdays?
It's
That's a trick question.
a trick question.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
yeah,
that's what we're
so-
talking about here.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right?
And I think partly the answer for that is, I think if we were, if these were market rate condos or very expensive rental apartments, I think that there's a quantifiable dollar amount of profit that we would be losing. But really, what we have is a funding deadline that requires us to have our residents move in by the end of December.
No, I understand.
And so really, there's a large cost to that, and that's not recoverable for us because there is no other funding source. So that is why we really didn't want to request this. We really don't want to be disturbing people's Saturday mornings, but we think that it is important, and we were hoping that, we could make up the time.
Well, we would also, your property's going to be there for a long time, their property's going to be there for a long time. So I think just in the interest of being good neighbors, if we can put an 8-foot fence back there, that will probably help a lot in everything you're doing and the livability of our residents and of the new residents.
Mayor Brinkman, let me put it a different way. If you make a serious commitment right now that you're going to have the back of those two properties with an 8-foot fence, I'm prepared to go ahead to get these units open and to get people in there living, and also to relieve the neighbors from what has been not the most pleasant experience in the world. I really feel badly for all the problems that have arisen around here. So it behooves you to make a commitment for 50 feet of fencing right now.
So just for clarification, I think that I don't know which
Yeah.
one. Oh, there it is. So my understanding from Yasmin is that she wanted 10 feet from here, going all the way.
That's
No.
not what we're
Now,
talking about.
I'm
We're
just
talking
talking about
back.
the
Oh, we're
back.
just talking about
Just
the
back.
Talking about
backyard.
the back.
Just right here.
Yes.
That's right. And not all the way to 36th Street.
Okay, just,
And it's 8-foot fence.
okay, from here to there.
That's right.
So, if that is what we have to do, I guess
They
we'll
sure
have
cut
to.
bait.
That is what you have to do, or come back in September.
Are you willing to promise that?
I guess we'll have to. I don't know what else we can really do.
You're on
Yeah.
TV. I'm
I will have to do
But-
that.
Too.
But, so that is an 8-foot fence across the back of the two properties.
right. I move the resolution with that
Is-
condition.
Yeah, you're adding that condition to the resolution?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay.
And including the modification about sidewalk work being away from Adeline Street.
Right.
Do I have council support to change it to 9 a.m. on Saturdays
Yes.
instead of
We
8:30?
want to get this
I
program,
know.
these units open.
9 a.m. is
I would support 9 a.m. I don't like getting up at 8:30. I just, let people sleep in.
You
9
guys,
to
you all
5.
should be waking up at 6 in the morning, getting out there running around.
I've milked cows before in my life, and I don't want to milk them again.
All right, all right.
Okay.
made that
So-
second. That's fine.
So we had a motion, a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Adding
Aye.
the 8-foot fence? Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.